Major developments in day 2 of jury deliberations in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. The 12 jurors just finished re-watching video evidence in the courtroom from the night of the shootings. That happened as the defense pushes once again for a mistrial, claiming prosecutors withheld key video evidence, and the media ramping up their attacks on the judge in the case.
I don't see how anybody can say that this judge is not biased and is not leaning in a certain direction.
He's shielding Kyle Rittenhouse, treating him as if he's a child.
This judge threw out what many people believed would be the one charge that he would be convicted of.
Had his phone going off with like the song that gets played at Trump rallies, but we won't go into that too deeply.
What about the judge involving Rittenhouse in drawing those numbers? I've never seen that.
Never.
Granted, does it happen?
Never. I've never, ever seen that before.
But Judge Bruce Schroeder isn't taking their crap, calling out the media and saying he'll think twice about live broadcasting one of his trials.
When I talked about problems with the media when this trial started, we were there in part, not fully, but in part, because of grossly irresponsible handling of what comes out of this trial. I will tell you this. I'm going to think long and hard about live television of a trial again next time.
So, Greg, he's right about the way the media has covered this, but don't you think it's essential that the trial was broadcast so people can watch it themselves without the media filter?
Because the media would say something. Well, it's funny. People are watching it, and there still is a segment of media baldly lying about what's happening. Sellers especially is just full of falsehoods. I think we're at a stage where every juror that takes part in a trial will have to be placed in witness relocation after the trial, because the media and a frothing activist class puts them in danger because they see his violence as an appropriate response if the jury doesn't come back with the decision that they want. So the media perpetuates this cycle, right? If there's riots, they will call them mostly peaceful, which then puts the cops on notice, right? That you better not harm these peaceful protesters holding their Molotov cocktails. And then they will deliberately, like those clowns, ignore the facts of the case, bury the truth about Jacob Blake, the truth about the men that Rittenhouse, or not the non-men that Rittenhouse killed, in order to make sure that there is trouble later. I'm not rooting for anything but justice, so I will live with whatever outcome there is. But the media places a lower bar for the activist class. They believe that their behavior can include any kind of violence, no matter what. I said this, and I said it yesterday, to the audible gasps. A month ago, when I talked about the Chauvin verdict, that I was relieved that Chauvin was found guilty because my neighborhood would not be torched. It was a commentary on this and how the justice system is now being held hostage by threats of mayhem because the media will allow the activists to riot for that reason.
Yeah, Dana, the judge has received a number of threats as a result of this trial.
Well, and that might just be a little bit of the sign of the times. In our first block, we were talking about passions that then also sound like threats, and then all of a sudden the FBI is involved. And the judge, I understand why they don't want cameras in the courtroom, because in some ways it just is a distraction, and it could put the jury in jeopardy or make them perhaps change their mind. But I also think that the trial being on television helped a lot of people understand what was actually happening that night. Why did Kyle Rittenhouse feel threatened? Was it self-defense? If you had, and you just think, what if it wasn't on television where the prosecution's witness admits that he had a gun pointed at Kyle Rittenhouse? Right. So without that, we wouldn't have known. And I think that's good. I'm very interested in this whole process of there's a mistrial motion, and when the judge can make a decision, and that also includes, even if they find him guilty, he could go back and say mistrial, then the prosecution has to start all over. We don't know what's going to happen, but watch that very closely.
So, Geraldo, can you comment on that with your legal expertise on why the mistrial motion was filed? Again, there was one filed previously in the trial because the prosecution withheld evidence of high-quality video. So the jury had seen the video before, but it was low quality, and you're supposed to submit the most high-quality version of the evidence.
I think what the defense is indicating is that they would have proceeded in a different way if they had that vivid, high-quality video and knew more precisely what their client did. I think that a couple of things. I think that on the basis of the defense moving for a mistrial without prejudice, which means the state would have a do-over, That doesn't seem that they have a lot of confidence in their case for the defense to do that. Why would they want a mistrial without prejudice, a do-over, if they thought they were winning right now? So, you know, I'm starting to feel a little that, and the fact that the deliberations are now being prolonged. But remember when I was starting in the news business decades ago, there was a guy named Warner Wolf, was the sports guy, said, let's go to the videotape. Nowadays, because of like body cams on cops and surveillance cameras everywhere and drones with cameras, the jurors are discounting the physical testimony and are asking to be their own witnesses by looking at the videotape themselves and making a determination what they see. Did Rittenhouse provoke, the first victim, Rosenbaum? Or was he merely trying to defend himself?
Right.
So if you see in the videotape, if indeed Rittenhouse is pointing the gun first and then the whole thing happens, it's different than if Rosenbaum is in his face and crazy.
So Jesse, there's the issue too is that the prosecution got berated by the judge multiple times during the trial for trying to introduce evidence that had already been thrown out, and now we're learning that they didn't actually give the defense all of the proper evidence.
I am so shocked at how unethical lawyers can be. Oh, these guys, when they're not doctoring evidence against Donald Trump, they're embezzling money and shaking down people like Avenatti. And remember those nitwits with Mueller? Just destroyed their iPhones after that witch hunt. I thought these people were supposed to be independent actors. They're just like the rest of us. They're just a bunch of really dirty, rotten scoundrels. These are rogue prosecutors. They are rogue, runaway prosecutors. And this is great because now we can see how dastardly they are. And if you didn't have cameras, you get the press come out and lie about what would happen in the courtroom. It's like right now, if they didn't have a window here, the press would say it's raining. And then they open up the window, no rain, press still tells me it's raining. That's why the country doesn't trust the press anymore, because we can see. We have the internet now. We have full visibility, cameras in the courtroom. You can see the actual documents, the FBI IG reports. You see, it's a great, great time to be alive in this country, and we are just being lied to in our faces. And it's sick the way the press is also trashing this judge. They don't like this judge because he's supposed to be impartial. The left hates impartiality. They want activists in robes. That's why every person they appoint to the high court is a total left-winger. None of the liberal justices ever cross over to side with the conservatives. It's always the conservative justices crossing over because they have some semblance of independence. No. They don't like this guy, even though this judge, appointed by a Democrat and ran for election like a bunch of times, the people put him there.
Well, there was an Associated Press headline today that was frustrated with the deference the judge had to the defendant. But let's remember, you are innocent until proven guilty in America.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.